It's time for a Humans in Tune conversation with Darren on 93.9 Mike FM.
Hey, 93.9 Mike FM family and friends and faithful, we're happy to have you along for another Humans in Tune. A busy week on the Humans in Tune side, interviewing some wonderful people as we approach, as we stepped into fall and approach exciting things happening around the Heartland. You know, I'm a big fan of things going on at Scout Hall, and I'm just titillated to bring back the Underground Jazz Series back to Scout Hall as well. We're excited this Friday night is the first show. And we're kicking things off with a golden note. And in the studio today is our featured performer for this Friday. Louie Pereira.
Yes.
God, thank you. Yes. Go, Darren. All right. That's my 3 years living in Texas helping me out. But yeah, Louie's in the studio today. You're going to be performing for our inaugural Underground Jazz Series show for this Friday for the season. The Underground Jazz Series, if you guys are unfamiliar or you're new to the series or you're new to the area and you haven't heard about Scout Hall yet, the Scout Hall on downtown Cape on Broadway, that's where these Underground Jazz Series have been happening. It's being put on by a partnership with the University Jazz Department, Dr. Felipe Brito, who we've had in here on several occasions. And that handsome devil who's the director of jazz studies up there at SEMO. And it's along with partnership with our friends at Abstraction Spirits, and I'm a big Abstraction Spirits fan now. They've definitely sold me on their bourbons and their whiskeys. Good stuff. But Friday night, man, it's going to be exciting. It's at Scout Hall. Tickets are on sale now, thescouthall.com. Hit the website right there and you can find the tickets, or you can find the link on social media and so forth. But Louie Pereira, you are new to SEMO, new to Cape area in general, but a new member of the faculty there at SEMO as well. So welcome to Cape officially.
Thank you.
Before we went on, I know we talked. You've been here since about August of this year. So lots of things to explore and learn in Cape, and of course getting that's right into the fire of SEMO and a new semester and new students and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty exciting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you do as a jazz musician. Historically, I always feel spoiled when I get to have these chats with our jazz musicians because as a jazz guy myself and a trombone player, I lost a bet in 7th grade. But as a guy who loves these shows and they come in, I get spoiled because I get to talk to guys like you, these high caliber musicians that, it's not just a guy who may have studied for a few years and has been playing around St. Louis or something. You've got quite the resume, and you haven't slowed down. It wasn't like you got done with school, you performed while you're in school, and then went on to the teaching profession, and every once in a while step in on something. Even as recently, I guess, as this summer, you were out playing and touring and doing things, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your jazz, your history, what you're bringing to the table for Friday night.
Sure. Oh, it's crazy.
Where do we start?
Yeah.
It was a cold, dark night in South Texas. Yeah. So, you're originally from Texas. You went to school, I guess, for your undergrad.
Yes, at Texas State University. I studied. Originally started as jazz performance, but then switched after my first year with some guidance from some fellow teachers, and switched to music ed, K through 12, all level certified, band, orchestra, choir, elementary, with jazz certification. And while I was there, I was very fortunate and blessed to be studying with one of the best jazz musicians still alive today, walking piece of history, the Butch Miles of the Count Basie Orchestra. Mm-hmm. And just incredible musician and fellow human being. And so that was literally my first official drum set lesson was this, was the top.
The bar is there,
Yeah.
Where do you go now, right?
And so awesome to be having him as my first instructor. I also studied with Wayne Salzman II, who was at UT Austin at the same time in my last year there. And then Peter Erskine showed up in my last year as well and did somewhat of a residency, and then I got to meet him, a private lesson with him, and then he offered me the TA position in 2016 to come out to USC and study with him for 2 years, do my master's and teach there. Unfortunately, it didn't end up working out. He had a situation with another master's student where there was just an unfortunate scene of life hitting him, and he asked me a couple weeks after offering me the position, hey, this guy's down on his luck, could we offer him the TA? And then, just when you're if you're able to still come next year, if not the following year. And I was like, well, I would definitely rely on the kindness of a stranger if I was in this situation. So I was, of course, please let him finish his year there. And then I ended up getting into teaching as a percussion director and an assistant band director in the area. So I ended up teaching for 3 years. And then right before COVID, I was starting to feel that shift. Like, I need to get back into playing. I need to get back into school. That was something I felt I had been called into, but maybe not just yet. And so I reached out to Butch. Butch called Peter, come back, we're ready for you. And then COVID happened. So that was crazy.
And then the world flipped.
Yes. And so I did my first year online, but was actually also, in a way, a blessing, because then I was able to get all of my coursework done while still doing 2 sets of lessons with Peter Erskine and Will Kennedy of the Yellow Jackets. So I've just been 100% blessed with this. Like, all my instructors have been top of the line drum set educators, musicians. So then I got all my coursework. So then when I did my last year in person, it was all playing and teaching and practicing. And it was amazing. And then from there, I spent another 3 years in LA, playing, meeting some really great musicians, some connections. I ended up working with this group called Blow Brass Band, led by India Anderson. She's like one of my best friends, and she just, starting from nothing to, oh my gosh, now we're playing at the Super Bowl. Now we're playing with Kai Cenat. We're putting together a 60-piece marching band. We're usually just an 8-piece group. We can go as small as a trio, and so we've kind of just been all over.
Dynamic, fun environment.
Yes, and the music there was also really great, because not only did I need to have this jazz background and be able to play in some trio quartet settings, but then we're playing pop, funk covers, we're doing Afro-Cuban Latin music. So all my studies were just coming together, and we were able to really have fun with the music that was being arranged for the band. And then, I think it was like the day before my birthday, or like a day or two before, I get a text from a friend of mine who was, I guess, in a close community with the directors here, and heard that they were looking for a position. And it was such a unicorn position in terms of the requirements. They needed somebody who was not only well-versed in drum set, jazz and commercial percussion also, which I did in my undergrad too. I took percussion all those years, but then also somebody who understood the marching percussion background. And I was, again, very blessed to have worked with some of the best groups, some of the best educators in the marching percussion world too, and be a part of some of the greatest ensembles, especially in California. And then also somebody who could not only lead the percussion, the marching percussion, but handle the jazz commercial percussion drum set, and also be somebody who could teach some of the history courses too while here, excuse me. So it seemed like an excellent fit. And then I had a little less than 3 weeks to not only talk this through with some friends, with my girlfriend and my parents, just go through what is about to happen if we go forward with this. And I mean, it's been crazy, to say the least.
No doubt.
But it's also been really, really fun, and it's tested me in some ways that have forced me to grow. And that I'm not saying I wasn't receiving something like that back, but I had been prepared for this moment, and now we were pushing
coming to fruition.
And
the wheels were actually turning.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they needed a Swiss Army knife, and you were the Swiss Army knife to fit the position, man. You've got, the skill sets, like you said, not just the jazz and the commercial, but that marching side of things as well. And knowing the faculty at the university and the music department there, I know you're a great fit. There's those folks up there are so much fun to work with, and it's been many moons have passed since my music department days at SEMO, but I'm a SEMO alumnus, and I played through marching band and jazz band and all through that up at SEMO. And then Jake Contrino was actually my drummer with my band Shades of Soul.
Oh, nice.
And he's
I
one
love
of those
him.
guys.
He's so awesome.
And I just love playing with him, because he's one of those guys that can do everything under the sun and knows exactly what he needs to do. The little subtleties, the little ghost notes, the little things that you hear as a musician on stage that put you in the pocket that you're just like, oh, I'm going to chew on that for a minute and then we're going to take a ride. He's just one of those guys. And that's across the board up there. The intuition and the experience really shines with SEMO's department, and I know you're a great contribution to that. And we look forward to seeing you grow in the position, man.
Thank you.
And if you get any students that give you trouble, you just call me. I'll drop an elbow with love from the trombone department. But yeah, so Friday night's show starts at 7:30. Doors open at 7 o'clock. As you have settled in, I say settled in, as you have toe touched on the various ices that you're balancing on with things at SEMO. What should we look forward to with Friday's show? What kind of styles are we going to see? What are we going to see as far as the performance goes?
Sure. Well, we're going to definitely hit some standards. I'm particularly a fan of Charlie Parker tunes, so we're going to get a couple of those.
Nice.
And then, because I also dabble in the Afro-Cuban, Brazilian rhythms and styles of drumming, we're also going to be doing some of those in that genre.
Yeah.
And we also, I think, are going to be featuring maybe a song or two that are specifically like Dr. Brito's tunes.
Nice.
So we're just going to see how I interpret and work with that. And so
that's cool.
I'm pretty excited. We're going to have a whole slew and range of.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I love the range, and that's what we've seen a lot with the underground jazz shows. Somebody, this musician comes in and is this certain style that's their signature, but they're also stepping toes with that. And I think part of the cool partnership I see with the university side of it is the incorporation of the student musicians, whether they're undergrads or graduate students or whatever, bringing them into the fold and getting them on stage with seasoned vets like you and Felipe and these guys who, have been there, done that on a lot of these bigger stages or North Texas stages or these kind of things that we think of as these milestones in a jazz musician's career. Being able to get them on stage. I know when I was young and playing, it was all I could do to not throw up when I'd get up there, and so I know that's pressure for them, but at the same time, it's pressure with a parachute, right? Because they got you guys, and they can trust you guys, and they can trust the musicianship, and we see that reflected in those students. We see that grin when they find that pocket, and as musicians, we appreciate it. As lovers of jazz, we appreciate that. Improvisation is such a huge part of jazz, and that's always, not a featured part, but that's always a part of the integration of these jazz shows is the improvisational element. And I'm sure as from the percussionist side, typically we think of improvisation as 90% of the instrumentalists up front, right? It's the lead sax guy that's going to take a ride for 12 bars or whatever it might be. As a drummer, how do you approach improvisation in your performance?
Sure. Well, I would definitely say that you're 100% correct when we associate when the person, it's them doing all the improvisation. But most of what the drummer does is also improvisation with the comping, complementing or accompanying something. We get a lead sheet at best.
Right.
The rest of it is just, this is a swing tune. Yeah. 1, 2,
here's
and then
your charts, here's your key.
And suddenly you're just going, okay, playing my groove. Everything I do outside of that is I am hopefully listening to the lead and complimenting or accompanying what they're doing, but I'm also trying to make sure what I'm doing fits well with the rhythm section because we got to create that pocket. So yeah, there's a lot of improvisation. It's tricky. And as you as an instructor, I'm sure your mindset is almost a teacher mindset too, whereas I have to maintain the form, and we got to start, we got to stop together, free beer in the end zone, go band, go. But yeah, you got to follow the form because otherwise it'll be like, was that Charlie Parker? Maybe it was Charlie Parker. I don't know. So yeah. And if time allows and the tunes you're going into, preparing, and I do this with the jazz combo here, is we just always all learn the melody. Everybody needs to know the melody. That needs to be in your heart when you're playing the tune, whether you're the bass player or the trumpet or the piano. Everybody has to learn it. I even make the drummer keep the hi-hat on 2 and 4, and I make him play the melody and try and sing it while he does it, while everybody else actually plays the melody melodically. And that's the first element for sure, I think, is understanding what's the song and how can I... And then the next step for us, especially in the jazz combo, is how do I embellish that? Because first off, those are all the best notes to play over the tune because they're the melody. They sound good. But it can also be an anchor at certain points in your soloing and your improvisation to kind of come back to, grab onto. Again, whether it's a motif or a note specifically or rhythm that's prevalent in the melody. But then improvisation, that there's just so many routes and
that's part of the beauty of jazz, though.
Yeah.
And I like that focus on everybody knowing the melody, because when we think of the body parts of a jazz band, I always think of the drums as the skeleton, as the nervous system, and the rhythm section along with that. But that's where my brain goes to. What's the main artery of what we're playing? Well, we've got to keep that rhythm going, and it is the melody, the hook, the signature of that tune. That's the artery that everybody's following, the percussionist and everybody else, right? That's the blood of the body, so to speak. And so you keep a focus to that, and then you find your place among that as a musician, and hopefully that all works out. It doesn't sound like chaos.
Yeah, of course, and have a plan. When you go into and that's the beautiful thing about improvisation is you want to have a plan, but things might change, and so what can you come up with? And so I actually do that a lot with my drum set lessons. Is one of the things we do in the beginning is improvisation, and I just give them an idea. Ba ba ba, boom boom boom, boom boom boom, ba. Okay. I want you to use that idea, and how far can you stretch it? We're going to trade fours, but you can only use that idea. Or we're going to trade fours. At some point, I would like for you to reference and utilize that. It could be in that full measure, or you could just da 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 do 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 ba da da do do ba da 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 do do do.
But give it a nod. To
Yeah.
that rudimentary.
And so it gives them, again, just like we teach the horn players, target tones and target. Let's outline the color tone. Let's see. Okay, let's all play the sevenths of the chord changes, the fifth, the third, and just get used to what makes the chord sound good. And I do the same thing rhythmically. It's like, this is a good idea, and you can use it. But put something in between it, maybe, or come back to it. It's something you can check in with to kind of either as an ending point, or it's a transition into another idea. And who knows what it could spark. If it happens on a different beat, if you play it on a different drum, you might respond. You go, oh, I actually kind of like that. I want to play. Oh, I accidentally played this. Now you build off of this little theme. And so I always try and give them start with a plan, have a little idea, even a simple idea, and see what we can build from there.
And as a band, that's how you write new stuff. That's how jazz has evolved. Is everybody started at some rudimentary level and built beyond that. And you hope as a band you hit record before you came up with all that awesome stuff. But yeah, looking at the comments, let's see. Philip says, Dr. Brito left? No, Dr. Brito didn't leave. Sorry, Phil, if you were hoping, but no. Felipe is still in the house. He's just not here with us today, but just one of your cohorts in the department, and director of jazz studies up there. So Felipe, rest assured, and I'm sure will be with us Friday. Probably will give us a little love on stage, as you mentioned. You're going to be doing a couple of Felipe's originals as well.
Yes,
so.
He will be the trombonist for the ensemble. We have 2 horn players. It'll be Felipe, Dr. Brito on trombone, and actually we're also going to have Michael Chapa. I believe he played in the last series a year ago, I think on the first of the series starting. And so he'll be our second horn player, and then we'll have 2 other in the rhythm section, Andrew Binder on bass, and Nick Schulter on piano.
Okay, awesome. Let's see, what else? Oh, Julian says, welcome to SEMO. Well, thanks, Julian. Yeah, that's nice.
Thank you. Julian's
a SEMO alum as well. He says, hail Symphonia. Are you a Symphonian?
I am not.
Okay.
I am not.
Sorry, Julian.
I'm going to work on that honorary.
That's it.
With
we got the Clark Terry Jazz Festival. Comes up in the spring, so maybe you get you tuned in by then. But that's awesome. And shout out to Nathan, giving some love on the Facebook Live. So, and again, just to recap, Friday night's show is the kickoff for this season for the Underground Jazz Series. The show starts at 7:30. Doors are open at 7. Grab a table, grab your tickets. I do my best not to miss these. I'll be there Friday. I'll give you guys an official intro to kick things off.
Oh, perfect.
But it'll be an exciting show. Scout Hall's a great place for these because of having such an intimate environment that we can still fit bodies in. We can still get a good 150 people down there with plenty of seating and be able to really it's a cloistral environment that feels really comfortable. The room sounds great. It's a warm sound. It's perfect for these jazz shows. So we're excited about that. Now, you've got to teach. You've got lessons going. You've got these things. As far as your performances go, are you able to continue to maintain? Obviously, you're not in LA and you're not in Texas anymore, so you're not able to jump in with the brass band and so forth. But as they play and tour, are they calling you in? Or are you looking to do projects, or kind of what's that on the radar for you?
Sure, I would like to find a balance for sure. It is tricky, and this is my first year in higher education. And since I was brought on a little bit later than would have been preferred, I feel as though I'm still playing catch up or trying to do enough work ahead so I can have breathing room to maybe look for extra work or accept those type of things. It's a little tricky right now, but I'm also okay with not being. And they're busy still over there, so I'm kind of on the. Let me just take a breather. Let me get caught up here when things are feeling a little bit more settled, and I have a really good rhythm to my week. Then I'll probably allow myself opportunities to do that, as well as making sure that it doesn't interfere with any, of course, of the schoolwork or coursework too. Marching season is always the trickiest, because, and I remember as a band director when I was in my undergrad, gigging was no problem, and then I took on a full-time position as a percussion director and assistant band director, and I had my own concert band. I had a percussion section. We were doing winter guard and indoor percussion, and marching season was. We have July band camp, and we keep going, and you're done. Especially back in Texas, you go all the way to November for UIL, and if your band makes state, and so it's basically every weekend, Friday and most Saturdays are consumed with. So it's really difficult, and especially in serious programs, and you wouldn't dare go, hey guys, I'm not going to be at the contest because I got to go take a gig. They would shoot you. Yeah, really?
Yeah, no
okay,
doubt.
fired. They would. So
you're on a wall with "Don't do this" posters.
Which is understandable too, because they music education is very valued in Texas and in a lot of places too, and it's a really good outlet for students where they can learn so many social. Emotional skills that they need to make them successful for life. So you want to be there for part of it and keep it. And so I definitely, I don't think I've ever really allowed myself to miss that for a gig or anything like that. And also just seeing them have fun, basically kind of go through that again through them and seeing them have fun at the performance. You're just like, oh, that was totally worth it too. Like I'm okay. I didn't get to play that thing over there, but.
I'll get another gig done.
Yeah, there's plenty, and in LA, I mean, you throw a rock and you hit a band. So there's music everywhere.
Well, it's exciting, and I can tell that you're excited to pour into the students and really invest into the musicians that they can become. And you're 100% right about just outside of the musicianship building, the things you build in marching band, and even as a jazz section leader or a lead player, those kind of things, those leadership skills. For me. If I not marched in college, and I did in my first year of college, I was kind of like, I'm too busy, I'm done with band, I got to figure out what I'm going to do, blah, blah, blah. And then I was talked into it pretty quickly after my first year of college got over, and I jumped back in. And if I'd have not taken, on band president roles and then kind of liaison to president's office and those kind of roles over my collegiate years, I would not have the starting leadership skills that I had when I got into the workforce. I mean, that was absolutely it. I wasn't getting that from other classes. No offense to those professors, whichever of them are still alive. But, those skill sets really did prepare me for whatever, career I took on after that. But as a musician, I gained a lot of confidence in reaching out for those gigs and those shows and keeping responsible contacts and staying in touch with people, because, you never know when 5 years down the road, you've got some band coming to town, you need a trombone player, and say, well, I had this student, Darren, that was, he was an exceptional trombone player. I'm going to reach out and see if he wants to pick up this show, and that's opened up many doors for me over the years. And so I think instilling that in them early and helping build that leadership skills, you're just preparing for more legendary musicians and talents that can come out of Southeast Missouri. That's great.
Indeed, yes.
What do you miss the most about Texas besides Whataburger?
Oh.
I'm going to say that's high on my list for when I left Dallas. So
You and I are going to be best friends. I love Whataburger.
I got some again. I was down there in July at Fort Worth for a buddy's mom's funeral, unfortunately. But fortunately, I was able to get into the war zone for Whataburgers again. And I made it a point before I got too far out of town. Yeah.
I love Whataburger. It is so good. Well, side note, before I go on that tangent, I miss my parents.
Yeah.
I miss my family.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see them. And Thanksgiving, I will be there. I promise, Mom.
And you're originally South Texas?
Yes, Harlingen, Texas.
Okay.
We're about 30 minutes from the border.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, down Brownsville. And
Yeah,
down
yes.
in there. Yeah.
So yes, I love Whataburger. They're so good. That all-star, that it's the
Yeah.
favorites is so good. The honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich.
Oh, yeah. I
On
was a big
Texas
fan of
toast.
the A1 Steak Burger back in
Yes.
the day. I
Oh,
love that.
man.
Yeah. R.I.P. A1 Steak Burger.
So good. And and you know, in California obviously it doesn't exist there. And so when we were first planning to move over, like, okay, are we going to fly? We're going to and okay, we're going to drive. And we looked at the routes. It's going to be like 26, 27 hours. Oh gosh, it's going to be a mission.
yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to be here. Okay, we'll go through that. And we saw two routes that looked really good. And I told Selena, okay, if we go through Texas, we'll go through Amarillo, and we can get Whataburger. I would love that. It's an hour shorter of a drive, and we're pulling a trailer. But she was one of the second route, which was the scenic route through Colorado and through. And I was like, oh, you know what? When are we going to have that opportunity too?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, what if we left from like, I don't know, Denver, and then we go all the way down to, and then go back, and it's like, oh, that'll add 10 hours. Never mind. Okay, I just got to give up on the Whataburger dream for right now. I was like, God, please, I want Whataburger, but I also, this is a trip for her and I, a road trip, and it could be really, really good. And so, okay, fine. And I was like, okay, Selena, if we're going to go that route, then I would like you to plan where are we going to stay, what are we going to, like hotel-wise, because we'll stay like the night, because I don't want us to do the full. I've done that drive before from Texas to LA when I first did that 4 years ago, and it's a mission. And so I left to go get something from my room, and I came back, and she goes, okay, I'd like to stay in Kansas City. She goes, I'm not familiar with all the other places, so if we can stay in bigger city, that'd be comfortable. And I was like, okay, understandable. And she found the hotel. It was a good price. I'm like, okay, let's get it. And I was like, okay, we're going to get there at this time. What should we like for food? Like, what are we going to get? And this is how I knew, is like, God was like, okay, I'm going to give it to you. We zoom out. Down the street was a Whataburger. And I was like, thank the Lord. Selena, this was the best choice. We will definitely stay. So we got the best of both.
Oh,
And yeah, it was so good
hooray
too.
for Whataburger serendipity.
Yeah, it was awesome. The only other thing was we couldn't find the Buc-ee's. I think that's on the way out.
Yeah.
We were looking for too. And I was like, Selena, once you see
I made my
Buc-ee's.
first Buc-ee pilgrimage on that trip too, coming back. It was about 30 miles. There's two right outside of Dallas. One about 45 minutes north, so I skipped that one. I went to the one along Highway 30. And yeah, and when I pulled in, I was kind of distracted because they were doing construction around the entrance, and it was like one of those, like, you got to Disney World and just had your head in the phone the whole time, and you looked up and there's Cinderella's castle. Like, I turned across this gravel, cussing at the guy in front of me, and they making the turn, like, come on, buddy. And I look up and I'm like, holy crap. This is a gas station. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
It is. I'm wearing.
Yeah, you're wearing it right now. Yeah. I love
Proof
it.
in the pudding right there. Yeah. So. Oh man. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad they brought you in, and that all things holy and otherwise have led you to Southeast Missouri. And I hope you have a great experience here. Cape's a wonderful town. I'm sure you've had a little bit of time to explore, but there's tons of things to see, tons of things to do. It's a different world than LA for sure, but we do our best, and it's a friendly town too, and hopefully it'll be a friendly crowd for Friday night show.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, the Underground Jazz Series returns. Show number 1 for the second season is coming up this Friday night at The Scout Hall in downtown Cape at 420 Broadway. Tickets on sale, thescouthall.com. Grab your tickets. Come see Louie. Come see these other talented musicians Friday night, and I'll be there as well. Abstraction Spirits, shout out to them for putting this on alongside Dr. Felipe Brito and the Jazz Studies Group and the University Department of Music up there. So thanks again for being my guest, Louie.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Much appreciated. That's going to be another Humans in Tune segment, and as we wrap it up, I encourage you guys to always catch these Humans in Tune segments on our Facebook page at 939 Mike FM, and you can catch the audio after the fact on our podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, by searching 939 Mike FM, or find it on the website at 939mikefm.com.
Thanks for catching this Humans in Tune conversation with 93.9 Mike FM. Find previous interviews on our Facebook page, or you can listen via our podcast at 93.9 Mike.